Okay, now we'll do the second segment with Brian, where he's going to tell us about when he went to school, and we might find some things a little bit different than what it is school days now. Okay, Brian, where did you go to school originally?
Well, I went to the little school up the road, Namunji 997. Not the old school, but the new school.
That was started in
1938, long before I was born. It's just the same. It started in 1938. Bruce Witherow was the only one left around here that would have attended both schools. The old school and the new school.
How many kids were going to school then?
Well, I started in 1950 and there were about 15 or 16 kids in the school then.
All ages, of course.
Yes, and there was one teacher, Mr. Bob Prosser, a very popular guy. So he had a big job on his hands. In those days, quite a few kiddies didn't go on to secondary school, but they did what they called grade 7, what they call year 7 now, and grade 8 at primary school. And there were 2 or 3 in that mode doing that at the time. But there were about, I just forget exactly, but there were about 15 or 16 at the time.
Right.
But then, at the end of that year, well, a couple would have gone on to secondary school. A couple of families moved from the district. 1 or 2 would have joined the workforce. And the numbers dropped back to about 6 or 7.
Right.
And they had a policy then that the department wouldn't keep the school open unless, I think it was 7 kids, unless there was promise of more to come quickly. But anyway, an ex-teacher...
So what they needed is Alexander.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yes.
To boost the population.
That's right, yes. And an ex-teacher was Mr. Crocker, little guy with a big strap. He only stayed 1 year, and then I think from memory there were only 6 kiddies coming, and it looked as though the school would close and the department wouldn't send a teacher. However, a young couple came to the district by the name of Ted and Jean Nicol, who bought a property where Gal Bosco's are now, on the Lees Norris Road, and Mrs. Nicol, she was only young, Jean, was a trained teacher, but she wasn't in the actual pool. So they allowed the school to remain open for the time being, and she said she would teach for 1 year, which she did, and she was very popular, we liked her. But after 1 year, she left, and the school was hovering between life and death. I think there were about, numbers might have dropped to 6 or 5, and there were supposedly promised of more to come. And the school was actually closed for a couple of weeks. But anyway, my mother, who was a trained school teacher, but hadn't taught for a number of years, and wasn't obviously in the current education pool, said she would take it on for the time being, which she did.
And the department allowed that?
Yes, they did, strangely, but there must have been an agreement there were more kiddies who would soon be coming on, I suppose. And I know at that stage there were only 5 kids at the school. There were 3 Fergusons, a very young Brian Jessup, and yours truly. 5 kids. And she was a pretty hard, demanding woman. She didn't expect success. She demanded it.
And we're talking about your mother.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But she got the results. But she no sooner got there, and word came through that the school sports were going to be held, the district school sports. And there were 2 divisions, A and B. A was grade, was for the big schools like Beechworth, Yakandon, whatever. And the B grade was for the smaller schools like Namunji. And she decided we'd compete with 5 kids, mind you. So she tried the guts out of us. And we went along expecting to be a chopping block. Yeah. But we won it for the 2nd division with 5 kids. But the irony of all that was on the day of the sports, the cup was actually awarded to another school, which I think from memory was Allen's Flat. I'm not sure about that. Right. Because they were doing the winners by 1 or 2 points. However, over the weekend, the school sports were held on the Friday. Mum, being the perfectionist she was, added up the points and decided that we had actually been robbed and we were the winners. So all hell broke loose and she demanded a recount, and a recount was held and they were wrong and she was right.
Ooh.
So the other poor kids had the cup stripped from them and it was awarded to us. That's something I'll never forget. Another thing I remember about school up there was the visit of the Queen in '54. The organisation that went into that was...
She actually came, the Queen actually came to Murmudgee.
Oh, no, to Australia. Manila.
But that's not Murmudgee.
No, but just to say, the kids from Murmudgee went down to Manila. I can remember the organisation for that. But the thing I remember more than anything, although I hated primary school, was the Google League of Bird Lovers. Now, you've probably never heard of it.
Yes, Google, yes, okay.
Google was well, for want of a better word, a professor of birds who had written...
I thought he was an artist, wasn't he? Didn't he paint pictures of birds?
He wrote books about birds, as good as those ones.
Maybe I'm wrong.
That was back in the long dim ages, and there was a club, if you like,
Right.
formed within the education department for the school kids to compose poems about birds, to do drawings of birds, to write essays of birds, and everything about birds. The idea was to promote the appreciation of birds. Well, we had birds rammed down our throats, and there were competitions through the education on a state level,
Right.
on age levels too, within the school, and the competitions for doing these various things, poems, what have you, and the prizes were books for the school.
Right. Not for the person.
No, not for the person.
Okay.
By the time I left school at the end of 1955, you could hardly get in the school for books.
Ah.
But I could remember that absolutely ran. But and so she taught, and she was demanding, but we got the results. She was a
So,
perfectionist.
you said before that she had really an ambition to be a school teacher. Did your mother promote that, Ron?
No, not really.
It
No,
was
not
just
really.
something that you wanted.
Yeah.
But you wanted to go on painting birds for the
No, I
rest
didn't
of
want to do birds. No. We had birds were absolutely rammed down our throat. And if you speak to any other kids that went to school at that time, they'll back that up.
I see, yeah.
But anyway, that was part of school.
Was Joe Ferguson going to school at the same time as Dave? Or
Oh no, Joe's years
was
and years
younger.
older.
older?
That's
Oh.
Craig's.
Yeah.
Oh no. He's another generation.
Oh,
He's
well,
another
I wasn't aware of that.
No, one's an
He
old.
never struck me as being that old.
Oh, he was, yeah, a lot older, yeah. No, ones around here, the only ones that are left in this district that I would have gone to primary school with up there would be David Ferguson,
Yeah.
Kath Dobson.
Yeah. Oh, you went to primary school with Kat Dodson?
Yeah. And her sister.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Colin?
Yeah, Colin Kendrick, yeah. Gordon Anderson even went to school with us for a while.
Did he?
Gordon Anderson actually started school here for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Because he came up, his father was a builder, they were from Melbourne,
Oh, yeah.
and his father was a builder, and he came up for a few months and he built that house where Mike Orton lives.
Oh, yeah.
The Ortons.
Yeah.
And they lived up here for about 3 months. And to keep the school hovered between life and death for years. And they did everything they could to keep the numbers up. And if anyone in the district the day they turned 4.5, they were enrolled.
Alright.
And the day he turned 4.5, he started school. Albeit though it was only for a few weeks.
It was sort of a maneuver to keep There is an Anderson's Gully over here, though. So
But that's no
Anderson-
connection.
Not connection, not related.
No,
Okay.
nothing
Right.
to do with it. As far as I know, no.
What about the other things like facilities? Because from my understanding, Murmudgee's never had a store or anything. But it had a post office.
Well, in the early days, plenty of pubs, hotels.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, they would have sold. Mackie was supposed to have made his fortune further down at Everton by selling goods to the miners on their way to the Buckland Valley.
Right.
It was down near Robbie Norris's, down there.
Interesting you say that, because Colin all the time kept telling me this Mackie this and Mackie that. I never knew who in the hell is Mackie
Well,
was until it's Mackay or
or
something.
Mackay or whatever. He was one of the original squatters, I think,
He was,
Mackie.
yeah, he was.
Dr. Mackie.
He was a person who was very vexatious. Wrote a lot of nasty letters to the land board about his neighbours.
But I think there was a store, perhaps a Taylor's Gap, that
Almost all the hotels
would have sold.
other bits and pieces.
Yeah,
They weren't
that's
a proper
right, yeah.
store, but they did sell things.
But no, as far as I know, there's never been a store as such.
Was Allen's, did they have a hotel when you were here?
No, that's long before.
Long, okay.
Down here at the Hortons Lane,
Mhm.
yeah, what they call the Elms there.
Yep.
There was a hotel there apparently, and more in latter years it was the post office. That's
where
long.
the post office was?
There, yeah.
Right.
But that's long before my time. But in my time, the post office was always up here. Mrs.
Ramondi.
Yeah. There was a post office at Bowman's Forest too.
Yes.
But the
And where
post,
was the post office in Bowman's Forest?
you know where Xavier Harrington lives?
Yeah.
That house.
Ah, so it's close to the railroad station.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But the post office was up here in Ray Road, and Mrs. Amy and Ted Wells ran it for a number of years. I can always remember Mrs. Wells. She was actually had been a cousins from Gapstead.
Yes.
So everybody's connected. So
Yeah.
we're all nearly inbred, aren't we?
Yes.
But she was a lovely old lady. I can remember she ran the post office, her and her husband. They didn't have any family, but she was a lovely old lady. Oh, she wasn't that old, but everybody's old when you're a kid. Glasses and a lovely smile. Had a birthday the same day as me and used to ring me up on my birthday.
Is that right?
And with the phone on the bolted to the wall, I remember used to having to climb up on the chair to talk to her. But she
Did you have a hand crank?
yeah, you had to wind the hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
But her husband.
I've got one of those in our hallway.
Don't
Don't
you?
work anymore.
No.
I've got it.
But her husband was Ted, who had been a miner.
Nah.
I can remember him. He always wore a brown double-breasted suit and had a pocket chain hanging out of his pocket and sported the most wonderful full mouth of gold-filling teeth I've ever seen.
With his watch chain gold too.
Probably, yeah. Well, Mr. Wells died suddenly in 1957 and Mrs. Wells sold the property and moved to Albury. Getting back to Mrs. Wells, she was a lovely genial lady, but she had a fearsome reputation of being a fearsome tennis player.
Oh yeah.
She suffered from white line fever, and once she got on the tennis court, they said she was an absolutely ferocious player.
Very competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely lady.
The speed of the calls.
Yeah. But you talk about Facebook and Twitter and all those things today. It existed in a different form in those days. The minute there was a birth, a death or anything, Mrs. Wells rang everyone and told them. But they sold...
Was it on a party line? Or
No,
you had
we
an-
didn't have- no,
No, you had an individual number.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But she sold out, and Cousins, Lloyd and Nina Cousins had the post office for a while, about 5 years, and then Bogus's came
Yeah.
in the early 60s. But roadside delivery came in the late 50s, so the post offices were on the wane, and then as far as the telephone goes,
Was the telephone exchange in the post office?
yes, the post office was a very small building, probably 4 or 5 metres by 4 or 5 metres, not much bigger than the telephone booth, on the side of the veranda. It's gone now,
Yeah.
but it's attached to the
I
veranda.
did have a picture of it.
Did you? Oh,
Because
yeah.
Trevor had a bunch of pictures, family pictures, and he let me, we went through all his pictures, and there was actually a picture of the post office.
Oh, yeah. But
It's the only one I've ever seen.
yeah. Well, in those days, of course, it wasn't Telstra, Post. It was PMG, and they were, the two organisations were one. But then the Boguses took it on. They came from Swan Hill. They still actually own the property up there.
Yeah.
And
And the library was attached to it, and unusual to have a library out here.
well, it wasn't attached to the house. It was in the front garden. It wasn't actually attached to the house. But it was a building even smaller, probably about 3 or 4 metres by 3 or 4 metres.
So how many books I have in there?
Plenty, I think. To be honest, I was never in it.
Ah.
No, but it had been fairly active more prior to my time.
And because people, were they big readers or not? Or
Oh, well, I honestly don't know. I think some were.
your mother would have had to be, though, surely.
I suppose I don't. No, I can't remember, to be
Is that
honest.
right?
Really, there. Yeah. But Mrs. Wells used to sort of operate it.
Yeah.
But,
And it was a lending library. Actually.
yeah. I know someone who used to use books a lot was Denise and Maureen's mother, Auntie Isabel.
Yeah,
She-
right.
Well,
She was a primary teacher.
yeah, she was a school
Yeah.
teacher too. That's how she met my uncle. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She taught there too. She actually taught at both schools, I think. The
Yeah.
old school and the new school, I think.
I remember Isabel quite clearly. She was really a really pleasant woman.
Oh, you can, yeah, that's right. She died about 2003 or something, you know.
I don't
Not that
remember.
long ago, but yeah.
I remember she had a lot of newspapers in her. When you came in, the built-in veranda, it was just stacked with newspapers.
She'd been a teacher at, well, she was at Brown's Plains, I know. But yeah, that's how she met my uncle.
And you said the school won the sports. Were there other organised sports around for the district? Did they do other things?
The schools used to have a sport every year, yeah.
The reserve up here, or I think, was that with the Pony Club?
Oh,
things or something?
now.
Yeah.
Well, that was a district organisation, like that was a local show, if you like. No, it was a sports meeting. It was, originally it was held in Dave Hume's paddock, I'm told. That's where Maureen Ray is now, and also in Dick Hume's paddock, which is next. Denise owns it, Ray owns it now, but that's next to the reserve.
Yeah.
I don't know when the reserve was actually gazetted or created or whatever, but that was held there for years and years. It was quite a do, really.
And what did they do there?
Well, there were horse events like show jumping sort of thing, and a lot of the top horsemen in the district area used to come. It was held usually the first Saturday in November,
Right.
when most of the district shows had been, and it used to attract. There was wood chopping and foot racing for kids and adults, the horse events like the show jumping, and they used to attract people like the O'Keefe brothers and the Fisher brothers from Wangaratta, who were top horsemen who more than held their own in district shows. Like, there was no muggers game. It was quite, and there was a merry-go-round.
A merry-go-round.
Yes, and there was a trot, and I just quite a do. And there was the sheaf toss, as you mentioned there.
What's a sheaf toss? I don't know
Well,
what it is.
in real life, a sheaf of hay
Yeah.
is supposed to weigh roughly 7 pounds. But the sheaf toss was a competition. I've never seen it anywhere else before, but I think it goes back to old Scottish days. What it was, my father used to run that, and that was his hobby horse. 2 poles were erected permanently,
Yeah.
probably about 10 or 12 metres high poles,
Alright.
thin poles permanently in the ground, and on each pole there was attached a pulley and a rope and a crossbar, and it could be raised and lowered accordingly, a bit like the high jump.
Okay.
And for the sheaf, what used to happen was that you had to toss the sheaf, but the sheaf wasn't a true sheaf of hay. It was a package that was made up, and Dad used to make it up every year religiously, have the weight right, to weigh 7 pounds. It was a package made out of hessian, about 2 foot long or more, and about 8 or 10 inches wide, and stuffed with straw, and stitched up with jute string.
Yeah.
It was tight, and it was quite tight, really tight. And he used to put
So
on.
it didn't flop around.
Oh no, it was, well, it landed on your head, you'd know all about
Oh,
it.
okay.
As I say, it was about 2 or 2.5 foot long and about 8 or 10 inches wide, and very tight. And he'd stuffed it with straw until it had it was very meticulous, had to be the right weight.
It's just a family characteristic, right?
And he'd always had 2 or 3 on hand.
Yeah.
And the idea was to toss it with a pitchfork over the crossbar.
With a pitchfork.
Yes, with a pitchfork. And it was, I think in old language, they used to do it about 30, 35 feet. I'm just not sure of that.
So they had to stand behind a line or something.
Yeah, stand behind the line and toss it over the bar.
Bar.
Now these 2 poles that were erected would have been about, I suppose about 3 metres apart. And it was not a game for fools. It took a lot of, strength and skill, like anything.
And did they actually puncture the
Yeah,
bag?
puncture the poked the pitchfork into the makeshift sheath, which was this
Right.
package.
Like they were building a haystack, I'm
Yes,
saying.
that's right.
Yeah.
And it was quite an art to toss it over the actual bar and not touch the holes. And as I say, it was lowered and raised accordingly.
Were people still then, were they still putting wheat out in sticks and
A
making
little
their
bit,
own?
not much.
Not much.
Not much. We would have been one of the last to do it. And someone who used to be very good, was a champion stack builder, was Uncle Jim,
Oh, yeah.
Maureen and Denise's father. It was an incredible art in building a stack in a paddock. Like it was an old art, but it was going out then. It was more the balers were coming in
Right, they
then.
were, yeah.
But there was still a little bit of it going on.
And the purpose of building the stack, I'm assuming, is you had to be skillful and so to keep the
water.
rain, the rain to run off of it.
It was an incredible art, you know, just started off and it gradually used to come out until it was about 2 metres high and it gradually came in. And the secret of it was the top, finishing off the top.
Right.
We had a stack that Uncle Jim had built, lasted I think about 10 years. We only fed it out because the mice got into it.
Right.
Another one I believe is very good in the district, a stack building I've heard was Jim Neary, like James's father, I've heard. But it was an incredible art to do it right.
But the sheaf top was a skill that was sort of part of that?
Well, really, yes,
Yeah.
because they gained it. I can remember though, one who wouldn't have had, I wouldn't have thought, experience on a farm, was who won it one year was Cole Briggs, a big tall guy, who ran the local school bus for years and years. So it was strength and skill. With the punch of the package, makes you believe sheath.
But you wouldn't want to punch it too far, it wouldn't come off.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, there was a skill in that too.
Yeah.
But the hessian was like, you know what a hessian bag, it was fairly thick and stitched up really tight and was quite solid. It was quite solid. Well, as you can imagine, to get that weight into it, you had to.
What did you win?
Well, I forget exactly. I think it was a monetary prize. If I remember, it was 6pence entry fee. I might be wrong. 6pence or 3pence. 6pence, I think. And it was quite a draw card. Really, it was. Yeah. No, the gymkhana used to be quite a do for a small community. Like it was a really big do.
When we started today, we started up at the hall, Brian. So what sort of entertainments and stuff went on in the hall?
Oh, well, in those days, before the new hall was built, I can just remember as a little kid being dragged along to, well, they had dances in the hall.
You a dancer?
No, I used to be on stage. Not then, I was too young. But small and all as it is, it was a beautiful floor in there.
Oh, right.
No, they used to have dances there. I know I can remember being dragged along just as a little kid to look at it. But they'd have dances in the hall and they'd have euchre parties in the ante-room or supper room, in other words.
Euchre is a card game?
Card game, yeah.
Right.
It'd be a small prize for it. But, well, some of them took their dancing seriously too. But they, let me tell you, they took the euchre was more for the oldies, and they took that really serious.
It's always amazed me that Bowman's Forest, it's a big old area, and almost the first thing people do is build a church. And there's never been any church here, so what does that say about the people who live there?
Well, it must be heathens. Well, up there they used to have, Presbyterian was the first Sunday,
Yeah.
Baptist was the second, Methodist was the third, Congregational was the fourth, and if the fifth Sunday in the month, Methodist had it again.
Ah,
Yeah.
the Methodist, their king.
Queried the minister as to whether they could milk their cows on a Sunday, and he couldn't give them a ruling. However, he went to diocese and they did get the permission that it was okay to do their milking on a Sunday, but no other work.
And so they were taking this pretty seriously. Then.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I suppose the cows would have been voting for Sunday milking.
But there was a story that nobody much in Mamungi drank. But my grandfather, Daddy Jack, he liked a beer at times, and a group of young, this is way back, a group of young fellas came up from Rowley and they brought a good supply of beer with them and they hid it in some of the trees. And in the middle of the night they went out to get it and it was gone. They couldn't understand, how could this be? They said, the only person in Mamungi that drinks is Jack Ray and he's not here. And obviously it was someone else that did.
One of the Witherow aunties told me that men used to go out and skin the possum at the dance.
That's right, yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah.
So that's probably where it disappeared. The possum got it.
That's right, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, it's been great, Brian. Thanks a lot for your time.
Well, that's good.
And we'll be seeing you on air.
Oh, really?